The Tom London Show is brought to you by Suzuki Kyalami, the home of happy customers.
The Tom London Show.
Yeah, hello, who's that? Another Tuesday. What month does it feel like? I can't tell. I really can't tell. What month is this? Are we still in April? I think we're still in April. I don't know what happens. The other day I said to myself, I'm going to stop talking about getting old and older and stuff like that. I'm not old. And then I start the show now and I'm like, oh man, as you get older, you can't quite place yourself in the year. When you're young and you go to school, you know, oh yeah, first term ends then and then second term's coming up and yeah, we can't wait for the Christmas holidays. But when you're older, it all just becomes a big bloody blur. So I have to remind myself, it's April. How's it? 21st of April, I think. Hope you're having a good day. I decided we'd take a look at the news today. There's been a lot going on in the news, and perhaps we'll talk about it. You can talk to me about it in the comment section below this video. If you're watching on Facebook, you're part of the Dysfunctionals team. If you're watching on YouTube, then you can also comment. And thank you for pressing the play button on YouTube. My best friend, Tonya, you know Tonya Curry. Tonya always says, do more news, Tommy, do more news. So when days come and there's a lot of news about, I hear Tonya's voice in my ear going, do news, do news, do news. So I thought we'd take a look at the headlines today and dissect them together. Come with me as we take a look at the local and international news that invades and pervades on our screens, our cell phone screens, because that's mostly where we get stuff from nowadays. Do you remember the old, here we go with the old stuff again. Do you remember the old days? When the news came on at, 7 o'clock at night, you had the English news, you had the Afrikaans news, you had the Zulu news, the isiXhosa, we watched the English news on SABC3, I think it was, and around 1 minute before news, they would play that little advert before, and then I think they had the countdown, and then that's when the parents would go, shh, shut up now, kids, it's news time, and you'd all have to keep quiet and see what went wrong in the world today. Now we don't gather around the TV screens as families and watch the news. We consume it individually on our handsets and our cell phones. And we make our own minds up without much discussion. You know, people around us, we just decide, oh, that's good, that's bad. And then we form an individual opinion. And then at the end of the day, we've got 7 billion individual opinions in the world, and it doesn't seem to move us forward. So that's where my mind is today. How's your day been? How are you doing? How are things going in your life? I don't want to go on about my life too much. I've been a bit distant the last 2 weeks because we've had some problems in my family, health problems with family members that I haven't spoken about, and because they like to be private, I can't speak about. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time dealing with family and personal things going on with health. Not me, myself, but in my family. So yeah, I think many people can identify with that. But that's where my mind has been the last couple of weeks, is just the health of my family members. Let me see what you got to say. Heather Knickelbein says, good afternoon, Dysfunctional. She's lazing in the lazy girl there. Eh? Yeah. Margaret Guida says, hello, everybody. Rosie Brown sends a rose. Una Guida says, hello, everyone. Margaret says, hit the news, Boykie. The world has gone mad. Yeah, I've got a few comments to make. Kyron Atwell says, good morning, good afternoon. I think Kyron's in Houston, Texas. Helen Mitvach says, hello, everyone. Hope you are all well. Helen's been battling with the temperatures going up and down and the rain and then no rain. But the one thing you've got on your side, Helen, is that whatever's happening outside, the temperature in the pee pool is always the same. You should thank you very much for that. Glenda Lawrence says, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone is keeping well. Unigida says, the news. People have lost their minds. Barbara Anglau says, hi, Tom and all. Emily says, hello, Dysfunctional family. Excited for the show today. Tom's Army Rules. Wendy Kutsia is on board and says, hello, everybody. And more people will join. Put your comments and say, how's it in the comment section? We'll read them out. So, yeah, for me, the biggest news over the last few days was that road rage shooting in Emmarentia. Now, I don't know if you saw this when it happened. And I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock not to have had someone talk to you about it, or having seen the video or a post or something about the road rage shooting in Emmarentia. Now, I saw, I think 2 days ago, I think it was, that I saw the first video. This video that looks like chaos, this was after the shooting. And it just looks like chaos. And then there's a man lying on the ground. There's a lady sitting there, and it looks like her hand is blown off. And a little boy. What broke my heart. And my heart doesn't get broken easily. It normally takes a very pretty lady to break my heart. But my heart was broken watching that little boy trying to do CPR on the adults. I don't know who the adult was. Maybe his dad. I don't know who. I don't know. I didn't work that out. But I saw this video of this lady sitting on the ground and this guy lying there, and then this little boy trying to do CPR. And I thought, my goodness, what that little boy is going to have to live with, and that little girl that was sitting in the back of that car on that video, what they're going to have to live with and process and deal with in life and later in life as they try and unwrap this trauma that has befallen them. It's just, it really, really broke my heart. My heart broke into 1,000,000 tiny pieces for those two little children, and specifically that little boy with the blood on his hands and trying to do CPR. A small child trying to save a life. It really hurt me. And I think it probably affected my mood the last 2 days. And then we go back to that, that situation of road rage, because it all started with road rage. And it's not the main headline today, but if we go to the headlines, I see the Sunday Times or Times Live are running a poll. What do you think is the main cause of road rage? I don't know whether that poll has got what does the poll say? Frustration caused by heavy. Oh man, you can't get away from the betting sites, hey? No matter what you do, how do I go back to that? It doesn't matter what I do on the internet. It always takes me to a betting site. Let's try that again. I mean, all you want to do is see what the survey has to say, and then you must take a bet on a horse race or something, which just seems ridiculous. Let's see. Frustration caused by heavy. So what do you think is the main cause of road rage? Frustration caused by heavy traffic, personal stress, lack of anger management, ego driving, or general lawlessness. I don't think you can press all of the above in this survey, but if I was answering this survey, I would want to press all of the above. Let's see what South Africa has to say and see what South Africans think is the cause of all of this. View results. Do I have to vote before I see a result? Maybe. All right, so let me say personal stress, because everyone's got personal stress. Vote, and then let's see if... general law, really? General lawlessness? Really? Would you agree? Do you agree with this Times Live poll? What do you think is the main cause of road rage? 46%, by far the majority of people say that it's general lawlessness. I'm sitting, I said personal. If I had to guess one, it would be personal stress. It would be personal stress. That would be mine. But I see only 12.79 people agree with me. And then frustration caused by, and I don't know what that is, frustration caused by something or other. But what would you say it is? Why do you think people get road rage? Why do you think people get road rage? You see, I have suffered from road rage. Not as a recipient, as a deliverer of road rage. And I've mentioned this before, it's one of the reasons I enjoy sitting in the back of a car and being driven instead of driving, because I'm inclined when I see someone cut me off or do something wrong, I shout at them. I press the hooter, bap, and then I ask them a question like, were you stupid the day you were born, or did it develop over time? I start doing stuff like that. I start asking questions. I don't even shout and say, hey, why are you stupid? I ask them why they so. I will roll down the window and I will say, has stupidity crept up on you, or was it there from the day you were born? I do stuff like that, which can land you in a fight very quickly. But if I did that, I don't think I'd be able to blame general lawlessness for it. I honestly don't think I could blame general lawlessness if I got enraged in the traffic and I screamed at someone and I overreacted. I don't think I'd be able to blame the general lawlessness in this world or in South Africa on my behavior. I really don't. I'm fascinated to see that people in the survey think that. They think that half the people think it's general lawlessness. I don't know. I don't think it makes a difference whether there's lawlessness or not. Road rage is road rage. That comes from inside. I once worked with a guy who said to me, most people, and this was his theory, his name was Andrew, he said to me, most people don't have much control in their lives. Most of us get up and we go to work and we've got a boss and we have to do it, otherwise we won't have money and then we won't have food and we'll be poor. So we got to do these things, and we got to go and work for the man, and we got to be a slave sometimes, and we got to do all these things, and not everything is in our control. The South African economy is not in our control, at least our personal control. A lot of stuff is just outside of the individual's control. And so there's a feeling of powerlessness that a lot of people have got. But the one place they've got power, the one place, China, where you are the king, is behind your steering wheel of your car. There, you are the king. This is my domain. Anything above these four wheels and inside this body that we call a car, this is my rules, my kingdom, my little mothership that I drive in and out of the traffic. And you can see some people. I dated a lady years ago. She used to go to work in the morning and go into the traffic. She was like a kamikaze pilot, getting ready for war in the morning. She'd put her makeup on and get dressed and put everything in her briefcase, this, that, and then get in the car, and you could almost see the whole attitude change. It was like, right, now I go into battle. Beep, beep. And off she went. Every day fought a battle in the traffic. Sometimes I think it's just the general powerlessness we have in the world, and then there are little places where we've got power. Like maybe you've got power in your home, and then you'll see people abuse that power. Or you've got power behind the steering wheel. You see people abuse that power. I think most people are stressed. I think most people are full with whatever in their lives. Some people are full with the government. Some are full with life. Some are full with their husband or wife. Some are full with their job. People are full. And so I think we live in a country, and in fact a world, where most people are just full. And they're at the end of their tether. Their nerves are frayed. And it just takes one person to little bump. And then that is the end of the world. And we must clap each other and shoot each other. It's, I think it's that. But maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to know what you think. So half the people on the Times Live survey thought that the reason for the road rage was general lawlessness. I don't know. I battle to understand that. But maybe you can help me. All right, let's see what you got to say. I'm more interested in what you've got to say. You'll work this out. Okay, so here are your comments. There are a lot of comments. All right, let's get through them. Sue Buerta's online. Hello, Sue. Charmaine Inaba says, hello, Tom. All the dysfunctionals, praying for your family. Yeah, it's one of my family members who's battling some health issues, but they're having very good care. Helen says the people temperature's not the same. It fluctuates a bit. Well, I can only imagine why it would get a little warmer with a whole lot of people in it. Barbara Anglar says, thinking of you, thank you. Elaine Bonnie says, hello everyone. It's not easy when there are health issues going on with a family member. We're working through my mom having a stroke, and if all my prayers and good wishes go to you today, Elaine. Yeah, it's not easy. You know, we get older, and these bodies aren't meant to last 1,000 years, and so this stuff happens. MPA has decided not to prosecute for now. More evidence is needed. You see, now this is where the story becomes interesting, because from the reports, and the reports, I don't know whether they're accurate or not, that's the other thing, but from the reports, it seems that there was a bumper bashing, and then the two Oaks got out their cars, and they must have had some words, and then, I don't know, you see, this is where it becomes interesting. Did the one man have a weapon? Because the reports are that the lady went to the car and got the gun, the second gun in the argument. and then the shooting started. But I don't know who shot first. I don't know who presented a firearm first. I don't know whether the guy that shot the guy dead, whether he had a gun out or didn't have a gun out when the lady ran to the car. You know, the MPA, they will know whether to prosecute based on those kind of answers to those questions. Who pulled a gun out? Who ran to the car to get a gun? Was the other guy firing at the time, or was his gun secure? What was going on? When did it escalate? Who fired the first shot? Was the guy shooting himself, etc., etc., etc.? And so I can understand why the MPA might have a problem prosecuting, because in the sequence, you know, sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that led to this disaster might be that the guy who did the shooting and shot the other person, might be that guy was defending himself. Might be. Doesn't make the situation any better, doesn't make it any less tragic. But yeah, that's interesting. More evidence is needed. The evidence might come from videos, because I saw a second video where someone who was driving past at the time saw there was a commotion, started filming, and actually filmed the altercation and the gunfight. Maybe not everything on screen at the time, because he was obviously hearing gunshots, or she putting the phone down or whatever. But I think maybe from stuff like that, and South Africans have all got CCTV cameras on their walls and things. Maybe someone picked up exactly what happened, and I suppose the NPA would need the exact sequence in that event to know who and what to prosecute. All right, Eunice says, geez, I checked some footage yesterday, usually not too focused on the local news, but it was heartbreaking. Charmaine Ninamba says, Tom, I just feel people have gone so gun happy, it's getting out of control. A life is not worth anything anymore. It's so sad. That poor child that witnessed that traumatic incident, too terrible. It is. And I've got mixed feelings when it comes to guns. I grew up in a time in South Africa where I think most houses would have a gun. In somewhere in the house, most. Some houses didn't, but many did. I mean, you had white South African males went to the army, they learned how to shoot guns, and so it was natural when they came out of the army and started a life, they want to go get a gun. I didn't have that, so I didn't have a big push to want to go get a gun. However, my dad was gun mad. He loved the mechanics of guns, and he loves the intricacies of them. And so in our bathroom at home, at the toilet, when you went to the loo and you sat and you did some reading, it was normally a Magnum magazine that was behind the loo, and then you'd sit and you'd read about the latest Colt 45 and the Beretta 9mm. So I know a lot about guns. And I had friends who worked at shooting ranges and things, and I've actually fired a lot of guns. I've fired everything from a shotgun to a 357 carbine to a 9mm. I've pretty much shot every gun there is when I was in my 20s, and went through a little phase where my friends were interested in guns, and I tagged along to, you're young and you're a boy and you go to the shooting range and you shoot a bit. But I've always looked at guns as I know this is silly, sounds silly saying it, but very dangerous things. Very dangerous things to have around. Very dangerous. I've known too many people that have owned weapons and they've landed up being used for the wrong reason, or someone's used it on themselves, and it's just caused untold heartache and hardship in families. And so, you might not have to dig too far to find a tragic gun story in a family in South Africa. And that's where I tend to agree with Charmaine, that this quest to own a firearm, to protect yourself, I suppose, is noble. Yeah, it's good. But the problem with firearms, and especially if you're slightly negligent with them, is that very often they'll end up causing heartache, and not because you protected yourself. And for that reason, I've never owned a gun. I just want to place it on record. I've never owned a firearm in my life, and I made a decision years ago that I didn't want one because I felt that they were too much trouble. And not only that, when someone knows I've got one, then there's a reason to break into my house and steal it and use it on me. And I better be sharper than you in that situation. I'd just rather not have to deal with that stress. Wendy Kutsia says, the world has gone crazy. Hedda Mikvar says, that poor little boy, yeah, that was just awful. That was his dad. God, that was just, oh man. Eunice says, that little boy is scarred for life. Emily Hudson says, I only saw the video today. Oh, my broken heart over the little boy. I'm not going to play the video for obvious reasons. Most people have seen it, and I don't want to push it anymore. And the dad just screaming all the time. The little girl's just screaming all the time. So sad. Margaret Guider says, my heart also aches for the little children involved with that Emma shooting. And bear in mind that this happens in South Africa every day, all day, every day. Somewhere in South Africa, someone is firing a firearm and someone is getting shot and the children are witnessing it. And it happens more than once a day in South Africa, and it happens every day. So, yeah. I lived in Emmarentia up to 2011, and this was so distressing to read. I mean, when you think of Emmarentia, you think of Emmarentia Dam, and the botanical gardens, and walking around and having fun and picnics, and you don't think of road rage shootings. Emmarentia is like, road rage shooting. Where? Rivonia Road. No. Emmarentia. What, there by the peaceful dam there? It's crazy. You see, but you never know. You never know what was going on in those people's lives. That morning, the one person might have one particular stress, the other person's got another particular stress, and then a bumper bashing pushes those two stresses together, and all of a sudden, an uncontrollable situation develops. The road rage part is the final bit in the process. Other issues going on ahead of that. I agree, Helen. Hi, Tom. Exactly what I said Alan. Hi, Uncle Alan. Good to have you on board. I think anger and frustration is a large cause, says Una. I think so too. Sharon says, a taxi pulled a gun on my daughter and grandson because she would not let him in front of her. Well, taxi drivers are a law unto themselves. We know that. In fact, the entire industry is a law unto itself. It does what it wants, and no one can tell it what to do. And yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And it's also very off-putting and scary when someone pulls a gun out. Yeah, she wouldn't let him in front, so he pulled a gun. See? That's the kind of stuff that I would put in the general lawlessness category. Bridget, my apologies. You're one of the people I'm supposed to get back to and meant to get back to, but I've just had other things I've been dealing with. So please accept my apology for not replying to your message the other day. Bridget from Wissenow is on board. Karen Atwell says, internal conflict that manifests itself when they're on the road. Yeah, that's what my friend Andrew used to say. He used to say it's internal, and then the road is the only place that you can express it. Margaret says, they say road rage is often caused from more deep-rooted personal problems and stress is the cherry on the cake. I agree with you, Tom. It's often personal stress. Lawlessness sounds like nonsense to the essence of this problem. Why would 47% of people say that, though? Alan says, people drive like idiots because of general lawlessness. Yeah, that I agree with. Charmaine Ninaba says, it's just that, Tom. It's the way people lash out at people, and you just get someone who's a short fuse, pulls out a weapon. You know, and I'm sure, and this is the tragedy of these things for me, the tragedy of it, is that if that guy had survived, and the 3 or 4 people that were involved in this altercation, and you took them, 3 days later, you sat them all down in heaven or wherever you are, and sat them all down and said, was it worth it? I'm sure everyone would say it wasn't worth it, including the guy who shot, including the lady. I'm sure once the tempers come down, everyone realizes this was all for nothing. This wasn't to protect a property. This wasn't to preserve a life. It was, it was just over a bumper bashing and a short fuse. I think that's very good. Charmaine, that short fuse plays a big part in this, hey? Helen says, but what is in our control is how you react. Exactly. I think it's the final straw on the camel's back, says Wendy, when this happens. Barry says, you got it right, Gatvol. And don't underestimate this thing of Gatvol. I know when I say it, it almost sounds like a Leon Schuster sketch, because, the word can be funny sometimes. Gatvol, I'm Gatvol. You say it enough, you start laughing at it. But listen, this story of being Gatvol is... I think it's being Gatvol is like an illness that is spreading around the world. If you look at the generation that came out of post-World War II, I'm not talking about the baby boomers, I'm talking about their parents. They were just grateful. They were grateful that they made it out of this war. They were grateful if they managed to buy a property. They were grateful if they could have a second-hand car. They were grateful if they were able to save for a retirement. These are things that made it eternally grateful, and they're very seldom Gatvol with anything. Maybe a family member or something. But very seldom was there this huge Gatvolness. And now I see a world where almost everyone is gatvol. You go to America, people are gatvol with their government, or they're gatvol with the other side. You go here, these people are gatvol with those people. A lot of people in the world are gatvol with politicians, and in South Africa, I think we're gatvol with our politicians, and I think we're gatvol with the economic situation. We'd like to see a better economy in our country. We'd like to see things run better. We'd like to see more law, less lawlessness, and more good behavior than bad behavior, because we see a lot of bad behavior and we get gatvol. And I think gatvol is just a word that can describe how most people on the planet look around them at the world they live in and go, nah, this all makes me gatvol. In reality, though, our lives are a whole lot better than the lives of our grandparents and their grandparents. So they'd look at us and say, what do you go? Why are you gatvol? Look at all the stuff you've got. Helen says, totally agree, Tom. Patricia Wallace says, my son, who is a quiet, loving guy, transitions into an angry driver, reacting to bad drivers much the same as you do. Rolls the window and asks them why they're being so stupid and changes into, this is me, you see. This is me. And it always starts off with me, like, I catch you. If I'm doing the road rage bit, I don't let you know it's road rage in the beginning. You think you're about to enter a Q&A session with me, a friendly conversation, and I ask, have you always had this problem? And then that person says, what problem? I go, stupidity, and then the fight starts. And yeah, my grandmother used to say, you must count to 10, Thomas. Count to 10 before you say anything. And I'd always go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You idiot! So yeah, I get that, and that is a failing on our part, your son and mine. And I'm happy to admit this, it's a failing that we can't control ourselves at times. And to find that control is to master something. I don't know what it is. It's to master self-control, maybe. I have got better over the years. I mean, I really have. There are times that I do drive and then someone cuts me off. And 9 times out of 10 nowadays, I just let that person go. Because I remember some years ago someone saying to me when I was busy telling someone in the traffic off, they said, are you a traffic cop, Tom? And I said, no. And they said, well, why are you taking on the role of traffic cop? And I was like, well, that's a good point. So I try not to be. But it is funny how good people, decent, kind people can turn into ogres behind the steering wheel. Carol Hall says, hello, Tom and everyone else. How are you all doing? The wife of the deceased got the gun. Yes, says Helen. Yeah, that's what I heard. That something started the fight. Now, whether the other guy pulled a gun at that point or not, I don't know. But she ran to the car and got a gun. Is that when he pulled his gun out? I don't know. But you can see it was a situation that got out of control very quickly, and then too fast to think about the consequences. Heather says, people have no respect for the others on the road. They couldn't care about someone else on the road. It's terrible how they carry. I was today I was at the Robots, and a car, a delivery van. It was a red robot, and he decided that he didn't have to be red for him. So he just went through the middle of the 2 lanes and went through the robot, because why does he have to worry about a red robot? And so, yeah, listen, the reason that behavior happens, and the reason that bad behavior on the road happens, is because our police don't do their jobs properly. Let's be honest about it. When I say police, I mean the Metro Police. Instead of correcting that behavior, they are sitting on the side of the road hoping that someone with cash in their pocket buys them a cool drink. And there's no denying that. I mean, it's not even controversial for me to say that. I don't even have to worry that people will say, oh, Tom, you're wrong, because we all know I'm right. So our traffic cops are not doing traffic cop things. I remember as a kid, do you remember, there was a time when you wouldn't dare offer a traffic cop a 50 Rand note or something. You wouldn't dare. You'd be so worried about being arrested for bribery. You wouldn't dare. You wouldn't pull over and offer Versace $100 or something. That wasn't going to get you out of the trouble. And so that wasn't part of the equation. And also, I mean, do you remember when traffic cops, there'd be a problem stop street in an area, for example, and the traffic cops would hide behind the bushes, and if you didn't stop at the stop street, they'd jump out, give you a written fine. Even if your wheels rolled over the edge of the stop street, or you slowed down to 0.5 of a kilometer per hour and then pulled off, they say, no, your car was still rolling, and now you are going to get a fine. And it was an inconvenient fine. You'd have to go to the traffic department and pay the admission of guilt. And it was a schlep. But you knew, hey, careful, that stop street there, if I don't stop at it, man, there could be a cop that jumps out the bush. Now cops don't jump out the bushes. The only time they jump out the bushes is if their hands are out and they're looking for some money. That's why we've got the general lawlessness on the road. Because if you knew, if you jump that stop street, go through that robot, there could be a consequence, you would do less of it. But the consequences aren't there. There are many versions about the Amarentius scenario, says Margaret. One even wonders if they might have known each other. You never know, they might have. Guns are highly dangerous, especially amongst families. A split-second decision changed the lives of those 2 children forever. Teresa says, tragic beyond words. Those poor children will need psychological support, and not just for 1 or 2 years. They become adults and they need to readjust, reprocess. Charmaine Ninaba says, people's tempers flare too easily. They do. We are not a mild-mannered country. The tragedy is it's innocent people that get killed or severely injured, says Barbara. Tom, people are definitely hurtful because people are battling to keep their heads above the water. People are really battling. I know. Most people I speak to, no matter what their status in life, bottom or the top of the socio-economic curve or graph or whatever, pile, most people I know will tell you that, hey, times are tough, man. Times are tough, man. And I agree. Times are tough. And I think that weighs on people's minds and shoulders, and it just doesn't make for a happy situation, hey? Battling. That's what I mentioned earlier on, when people are cut full. One of the reasons we get cut full is when we don't have a growth rate in the country, when we have a static economy that isn't growing, and we're not adding jobs and we're not adding money to the economy. That's one of the big, these macroeconomic indicators that you look at. South Africa's growth rate is at 0 or thereabouts, That can't mean good stuff. That can't mean good. That just can't mean good. So if you haven't got a growth rate, prepare yourself for a population that battles. They need to get rid of all the corruption and things might change, says Barbara. Wendy says, thanks, Tom, for your talk. Should be safe on the roads. Lack of impulse control, says Claire. Eunice says, because decades ago, most people were grateful to buy a house. Our generations are struggling just to pay rent, buy food, put some petrol in the vehicle. Owning a house and building a family has become a pipe dream in this economy. It's really getting worse. I really feel sorry for Gen Z in this life. I don't know. I'm not too worried about Gen Z. I don't think they even want houses, Gen Zs. They like as little responsibility as possible. Margaret Guidus says, oh, shame, Tommy. That person you're shouting at with road rage could be the nicest person in the world. I understand, though. Have to watch very careful what I say at times. I'll say it again. Take me back to when I was 7, to the farm at Great Brock River. South Africans might be friendly, but they can also get... Yeah, South Africans, we're the friendliest people on the planet. Just don't mess with us. That's the caveat. We're the friendliest people on the planet. Just don't mess with us. Mess with us, and we lose it, China. Let's take a look at some of the other headlines today. Hill Lewis undergoing vetting as DA announces Western... Oh, these are for DA mayoral candidates. There's only one lady on the list. Okay, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I really don't get myself mixed up in the affairs of political parties or the DA in particular. Yeah, I'm a bit ambivalent when it comes to that headline. Maybe you've got something to say about it. SASSA cracks down on illegal selling of queue spots at offices. So this queue selling thing is not new, at least not in South Africa. I mean, I think anybody who's ever had to license a car has stood outside a licensing center. You get there early in the morning when the place opens up, and then there's already a queue of 50 people, and you're like, man, I'm number 51 in the car. I thought I'd be here first. And there are no chairs to sit on, nothing. And then you stand in a long queue outside the traffic department because you got to go, get your license disc, or you got to get change of owner, whatever you're doing. And then someone walks right past you and goes straight in, accompanied by someone, and you realize they paid that person to jump the queue. Now, we know that in the traffic departments that can happen. But now, can you imagine you're going to get your pension of, $1,100-1,200 a month? What does it cost to jump the What does it cost to jump the queue in a SASA queue? I'm sorry, but the price can't be too high, and it can't be more than 1,200 because that'd be all your money. So the SASA queue, I'm really, of that headline, I've only got one question. How much does it cost to jump a queue, a SASA queue? Does anybody know? Is it $50, $100? What is the queue jumping fee in South Africa for the SASA queues? Police Commissioner Masimola says he's done no wrong. My goodness. Could we have a drum roll, please? Daryl. Yes, the police commissioner says he hasn't done anything wrong. Let me just read that headline to you again. The police commissioner says he has done no wrong. Now, I would like to sit here and say, yeah, maybe you haven't, China. But I've watched enough of the ad hoc committee on SAPS and the Madlanga Commission. I've watched enough of that to know that almost everyone, and I might even go so far as saying everyone who has landed up in those commissions and inquiries, it looks like all of them have done something wrong. Even the good ones. Even the ones on the side of the rights. Fighting crime. Even those people have done something wrong. I would think, if I was being cynical today, I would think that almost every police person in this country has taken something from someone. New batteries for the torch, a bottle of whiskey at Christmas time, some money to make a docket disappear. Yeah, various levels. But I don't know how many, like when you say an honest policeman, what do you think of when you think of an honest policeman? I think an honest policeman, to truly deserve the title, an honest policeman, you will have to have never taken a bribe, never accepted a gratuity from anyone or a gift or anything like that in return for anything. That would make you an honest police person. I don't know how many of those we've got in South Africa, maybe 4 or 5. Maybe 4,000 or 5,000, I don't know. But I would guess that most police people have taken something from someone, a sponsor. So when the police commissioner says he has done no wrong, I'm like, wow, he must be the only cop in South Africa who's never done anything wrong. What else is in the headlines? Here are the 10 hotspots for pedestrian accidents in South Africa. I got rather excited when I saw this headline because I thought maybe they'll say it's on the corner of Cornelius and Jasper Street or something, or the corner of Rivonia and Grayston. There's a hotspot. So I was like, okay, well, let's have a look. And so I pressed the button. As you can see here, I was pressing the button. And I was like, okay, well, where are these hotspots? And I'm scrolling down, and guess what? The hotspots are the city of Johannesburg. No, Sherlock. I mean, of course, that's where most of the people live. Of course it's going to be a hotspot. Where are they getting this stuff from? It's a Queenie. That's probably our second biggest place. Of course, it makes sense. It's number 2. Cape Town is probably our third biggest. Makes sense. Our fourth biggest is probably a Ekurhuleni economy in this country. Well, there it is. City of Tshwane sitting there. So it's not quite on the corner of Hook and Plain. That's a hotspot. The whole of Joburg. So let me just put it to you this way. The whole of Joburg, the whole of Durban, the whole of Cape Town, the whole of the East Rand, the whole of Pretoria, Nkangala, Bonjanala, Eflanzeni, Gatsabande, and I think it's the whole of South Africa. I would just condense that and make the hotspot South Africa, because it just looks like the whole of South Africa is a pedestrian accident hotspot. So that's what I think of that headline. What do you think is the way we've been through that? What else have we got here? Madlanga Commission continues. More crooks to sit there and say I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. Senzo Mayo murder trial. This has been going on for years, getting no closer to the truth. I don't have much to say about that. It confuses the hell out of me. Why can't you work out who shot the guy? Fuel supply not at risk due to good terms with Iran. That's an interesting headline, because I don't think we don't get fuel from Iran, I don't think. I don't think we buy our fuel from Iran. Anyway, let them write the headlines. What else we got here? BMW South Africa rolls out a limited, for those with bucks, BMW's rolled out a nice new car. And that's it. That's what's going on in South Africa today. I always go over to IOL, old Iqbal Surveys newspaper, because they sometimes have articles that the rest don't have. And then sometimes their articles are just really bad. But I still go to them. It's like going to Fox News. NPA declines to prosecute driver okay, all right, so that's what our previous viewers were saying. IFP officially recognizes Hlabisa as its leader. I think the IFP is gone. I don't think they're a force anymore. A very good man. Family mourns the victim of the Emmarentia road rage shooting, suspect in court. There's a lot of info at IOL, by the way, if you want info on this. Police probe burglary at home of alleged gang leader Jerome Donkey Boyson. Sure. You must have... all I'm going to say... I've actually met this man. He's not a friend of mine. He's not an acquaintance. I just happened to be in the same place as him once, and I met him. People say, well, that's the big gang leader. And I met him. Hello, I'm Tom. I'm Jerome. I shook his hand, and that was the sum total of the interaction. But I have met this guy, and I promise you, when you meet him, you look at him, you think sugar wouldn't melt in his mouth. He looks like a school teacher. He doesn't look like a dangerous guy at all. But he's a big player down in the Cape, and I just think you've got to have big cojones to break into Donkey Boyson's house. You must be brave to break into Jerome's house. I mean, if I was a criminal type and someone said, hey, Tom, let's break into Donkey Boyson's house, I'd be like, I'm out of here, China. Sorry, man. Of all the places you think we can break into, you want to go to Donkey Boyson's house and break into that? Not for me. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I wonder, who has the cojones to do something like that? There's a Palestinian flag row at the Houghton Golf Club. I wonder how they're going to sort that out. Police Commissioner Fanny Masamola's case postponed to May. What will petrol and diesel cost in May? More! More! SA's anti-corruption hotline fails tests, calls go unanswered. Can you imagine? Did you even know? Did you know we've got an anti-corruption hotline? I didn't know. This is where if you want to be a whistleblower, you call the whistleblower number, the hotline, and you go, does someone answer it? Does a human being go, South Africa's corruption hotline, how may I help you? And then you go, hi there, I happen to work at Parastatal, and I checked my boss scale $1 million on Tuesday. How does it work when you call maybe we should call them. And then report every traffic cop to them. So we just want to make a corruption call here. Could you do something about the cops asking us for cool drink money? SA's anti-corruption hotline meant to give whistleblowers a direct way to report. I hate that. Why do they do that? They make buttons on the phone that you can't actually press. I hate that. And my phone's full of Betway nonsense now. Okay, so what's the story here? It's in trouble after a test call rang unanswered for 20 minutes before the line dropped. IOL put a range of government emergency and support hotlines to the test over the first 3 weeks of April to see how quickly they respond. Ambulance and fire services responded in between 21 and 42 seconds over 2 calls. The South African Depression and Anxiety Group hotline picked up within 3 seconds. Oh, well done. Drum roll for SADA. So if you're depressed and you need to talk to someone in 3 seconds, they got your back. Gender-Based Violence Command Center, 41 seconds, but the anti-corruption hotline, 0800-701-701, which is about the amount of money that most people steal when they steal, did not answer at all. Reporters eventually hung up after 18 minutes and 22 seconds on hold in a follow-up 2 weeks call, 2 weeks after the initial call. Reporters phoned again on Monday, once again hung up after 20 minutes. The hotline is run by the Public Service Commission and was established in 2004. How much money? Now, here's the irony. If you scratch below the surface of the anti-corruption hotline, you'll probably find a corrupt activity that led to its formation. You'll probably find that the anti-corruption hotline only cost 100 grand to set up, but it budgeted for 100 million maybe, and then someone took 99,900,000 rand and bought some colorful Lamborghinis or something. I bet you this. I bet you when they set up the anti-corruption hotline, there was corruption involved. I bet you. I bet my life on it. Let's go to the comments. Margaret Guida says, I'll say it again. Take me. Oh, we did that. Eunice says, problem is not just South Africa, we're in a global economic crisis. Yeah, no, I keep saying this. It's a worldwide thing, this gutfulness. I just keep my mouth shut about the DA before I get murdered. Helen says, Home Affairs is the worst for that. Oh, is it? You want a new passport or something, or your ID book. You pay some money, you jump the queue. Better be careful jumping the queue. Someone might pull a gun on you, says Shemaine Nimra. Give her a drum roll. Patricia Wallace says, my husband drives in traffic all day long doing deliveries. He said he had to stop reacting, but he still felt stressed because he broke 2 steering wheels and clenched his jaw so tightly he ground his teeth up to half the size. Well, Patricia, at least he ground his teeth down and broke the steering wheels, and he's not sitting in a court case trying to defend himself. The police commissioner, really? So say all of us. Margaret Guidis is fighting crime, let's say with the help of bribery and corruption and the mafia in the middle. Charmaine says, Tom, there might be honest police out there, but unfortunately they all get painted with the same brush. Yeah, you see, like, I think there are levels. There are levels. There are levels to corruption. You get the people that say, all right, well, organize me this tender and then I'll give you 100 million. That's the top. Those oaks, they're the black belt corruption masters. Then you get the brown belts. You know, they take a couple of 100 grand at a time. Then you get the green and the yellow belts. They just take, you know, a Louis Vuitton handbag. Thank you very much. I'll have one of those. Thank you very much. Oh, really? You left a Gucci blah blah on my table. Well, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. And then you get the people that, you know, they take the 50 rand notes. Those are the white belts of corruption. But I think it would be hard to be a police person and not have accepted something from someone over a 10 or 20 year career. I really do. And that doesn't make them a bad cop or a bad person. You know, it might be that a takeaway food shop said you can come and eat here for free because you're a policeman. Might be something like that. It doesn't necessarily make them, you know, corrupt in a way that they change in the outcourse of court cases or the law. They're just hungry and someone said, here's some free food for you. That's like white belt. Maybe it's below white belt corruption. But I think it would be very difficult. I mean, I think there are even corrupt cops that are good cops. I think there are cops who've fought crime like effectively, but they might be very corrupt. So these things don't necessarily go hand in hand. You could be a good cop and have a little bit of corruption going on, and you could be a bad cop and no corruption, which I don't think is possible. But anyway. What about all the medicine in a trolley in court yesterday? I wonder what chemist they got the medication. I don't know about that. Do these guys know how big the city of Johannesburg is, says Una. Okay, here's one for Velterfreden Park. Corner Rugby and 9th Avenue. Lots of smash. Really? Really? My corner? My corner? They're by Devon Valley Shopping Centre, next to the PNA headquarters. Is that a smash and grab hotspot? I've never seen a smash and grab there, although there are a lot of people that loiter around that intersection, so it wouldn't surprise me. I had no idea there was smash and grabs going on corner of Rugby and 9th. Majority of our fuel is from Nigeria. Yeah, we don't get our fuel from Iran. I've sent you, I'll take a look. Margaret Guida says, Tom, meeting a big gang leader. Are you sure you're all that innocent? No, I was at an event. In Cape Town. I was at an event and I was standing outside on the pavement, and the guy standing next to me who was walking past or was coming to that event or something, he happened to be Jerome Boyson. I recognized him. But no, I promise you I am innocent. We're heading, call them, Tom, says Salita. Well, who should I report if I call the anti-corruption hotline? I'd like to report on every JMPD officer. Which one? All of them. You see the guys, I love them on Rivonia Road here. They stop cars, but they only stop cars like over $1 million. If you drive like a G-Wagon down Rivonia Road, for sure you're going to get stopped by the cops. For sure. For sure. We're heading for big problems in the Middle East, and now it's becoming a little depressing. Yeah, after that program with Iran, Iraj Abedian and Leon Lowe, looking at the history of the conflict in the Middle East and the crisis there, looking at all of that, it does look like it's almost impossible to try and fix it. And the only way you can fix these things is if enough people want peace. While people want war, that's what you'll get. And if enough people want peace, then you got a chance. Whistleblower, not in this country. They take your whistle and exchange it for a whistleblower is the last thing you want to be in South Africa. I remember when I complained about Helen Joseph Hospital, and I wasn't whistleblowing. I was just complaining. I thought, I'm just complaining. I am complaining. I'm going to complain. The media started saying, whistleblower Tom London. I was calling journalists left, right, and said, please, don't call me a whistleblower. That's not whistleblowing. Talking about the cuck that's going on in our hospitals. Everyone who's been to one of our hospitals knows this. It's not a secret. I never blew the whistle on a secret. I just shouted about it. I didn't want that title, not for love or money. I have met real whistleblowers. I have met whistleblowers who have saved this country hundreds of millions, if not billions of rands, right? Cynthia Stimple is a great example, who worked at SAA, and she wouldn't let them do what they wanted on the board and just spend money willy-nilly. And she said, I'm not doing this. It's corrupt. And I don't think she's ever had a job since then. The big companies, if you're a whistleblower, like I think Cynthia's a chartered accountant or something, she's very smart. I mean, she's running the money in SAA. You'd think she'd get a job at another big company tomorrow. Not a chance, China. The big companies go, oh, where did you work last? I've said, no, I worked at SAA. Oh, what happened there? Well, someone was stealing money and I told on them. And then the big company goes, oh, geez, we don't want someone like that around here. What if they catch someone around here stealing money? They'll also tell on them. No, we don't want that. No. Thank you very much for coming to the interview.
Thank you very much.
And so whistleblowers, if you're a whistleblower, and especially when it comes to money, if you report on someone stealing money and you get called a whistleblower, you will not get a job in South Africa again. Not in the corporate world. You're just too honest. You're way too honest for business. Jeez, Daryl, that was a bit loud. I think you're right with the anti-corruption line. Thugs on the other side. Your corner, I thought your second home was Palm Court. No, my Devon Valley Shopping Centre is my spot. I'd like to buy that shopping centre one day. I'd like to be the owner of it. I'm actually going to fight for that corner. That was my corner. I was 40. You don't go there anymore, man. It's my corner. That whistleblower is lucky she's alive, says Charmaine Ninabe. Yeah, and that's the thing. The other thing that, we're not that concerned about this in South Africa, because if you're not a whistleblower, it's not your problem. But if you know whistleblowers, and I know some, they can't even live in the same house that they used to live in. They have to move, and then sometimes they have to move every 3 weeks and not tell anyone where they are. And like when they drive, they've got to put their heads down, but it's just a mess. You don't want to be a whistleblower, I promise you. That's the last thing that you want to be, is a whistleblower. So yeah, these are the headlines, and that's about it. There's not much else going on in the country. In fact, if you try and look for the news, you probably land up betting on a horse race, looking at all the betting adverts that go on, which I'm not in favor of at all, by the way. I just think that I don't think you should say, oh, well, gambling should be illegal or something like that. But I do worry, like there are people in this country that like they use gambling to try and buy food. There are people that run out of money 3 weeks before a week before the end of the month, 3 weeks in, and they got like $100 left that, you could buy some polony and some bread and go another 2 or 3 days or whatever. But they go, oh, well, I don't have much left. I might as well just put it all on Ignatius Pagnacious in race number 3, 60-1 outsider, and I think that's where gambling starts becoming problematic. And there was a long time in this country where gambling really just was the casinos. If you wanted to gamble and go give your money to someone else, then you just went to one of the casinos and then you sat there and then you pulled the lever or whatever and then your money goes to them. But now your phone has become a casino. And not just a casino. If you're a sports lover, they rope you in like that. They're like, oh, you can bet on the Manchester United versus Arsenal game. You can bet on how many goals and who will score the goal and what minute the goal will. So people think, oh, I know that. This is where I realized this with horse racing, by the way. I was very close to horse racing at one stage. I even did work for the horse racing industry. So I got to meet all the jockeys and the trainers and the punters. They're called punters. I don't know why in horse racing they're not called gamblers, because that's all they're doing is gambling, but they call them punters. The punters are ready and chomping at the bits for race number 5. Any horse racing punter I've ever met in my life will try and convince you that they've got the system. They'll say, London. Yeah, I will say, it's just gambling. You peeing your money away. And then they'll go, no. You see, this is how it works. If you take a place accumulator and then you put the scratch-ins in first, and then you take one or two of the strong favorites, put them in, and then they call them roughies. Take the roughies at 60 to 1, 100 to 1, and add some of those in. Then you'll definitely win the place accumulator. But if a roughie comes in, then you'll walk away with 100 grand. Now, I learned my lesson very, very quickly. I had a friend who was a horse racing trainer at one stage, and he was a punter. And he said to me, one day, London, have you got $400 on you? And I said, I do. He said, let's play an 800 Rand place accumulator on the races today. It was a Saturday. I said to him, Fletcher, I don't know about that. That like $400 goes a long way for me. That's a couple of pits. This is years ago. There's some pizzas and some petrol in the tank. And I don't know whether I want to give it to the horse racing fraternity. And he said, nah, it's a sure thing today. It's a sure thing. And he was the one who told me, look, let's put the scratch-ins in so then you automatically get the favorite. You see, when the gates open, no matter what happens, you get the favorite. And let's put the scratch-ins in, and he showed me, look, that one there, that roughie there, that could come in, and that one. So we spent $800 that day on a place accumulator, which I think is 6 races. Maybe it's more. I can't remember. Pick 6 is 6 races. Place accumulator might be more or less. But the horse has got to come in a place, either in the first 2, 3, or 4, depending on how many runners there are in the race. So I sat the whole of Saturday watching horse racing, and guess what? Our roughies were winning, and we were about to make about 400,000 Rand or something. It was a lot of money. I remember it was a lot of money that we were about to win because I was planning on my overseas trip with the money that I was about to win. And then there was one race left. And I said to him, did you put the scratching in like you said you have to? And he said, nah, that one I know the winner. I didn't put the scratching in. I put the winner, man. And we watched the last race, and then the horse that came in wasn't one that we put on the betting form. And we didn't win anything. We just lost $800. And I looked at that day and I thought, don't let these oaks ever convince you again. Don't ever let them convince you that just because they are they believe it, doesn't mean it's right. Don't let them convince you. You got to be careful of people like this. You got to be careful of people who say, hey, give me $10, I'll turn it into 20. And you say, well, how? Why? You go, no, don't you trust me? I know better than you. It's like that BPO guy, Chris Ocean. I see he's taking flack from Devi. Devi went and invested. Look at my 4 million Rand Ferrari that's blocking my 8 million Rand Aston Martin. And if you don't join BPO, you're stupid. If you've got a job, you're stupid. If you go to university, you're stupid. Don't be stupid. Be like me. He doesn't ever tell you how it works. I've never seen a video of Chris Ocean. He's just like, clever people get people to do the work for them. I'm like, that sounds a bit weird. So you don't have to work. Let's break this down. You don't have to work. You can get other people to do the work for you. You must just learn how to sell. And then you give him some money for some reason. And then you too could drive a Ferrari. Really? Not sure the world works like that. But anyway, he reckons that Devi has been unfair towards him. And the other people who reckon that there's been unfairness is Mel and Piet Viljoen. I keep seeing that they might be coming back to South Africa. And please, can we ask America to keep them? Please, please, please. I would go so far as to hold a prayer meeting. Please, please, I don't know who we have to speak to. Please, can we make sure that Piet and Mel Viljoen don't come back? They are the two South Africans I think we're better without. Like, of all the South Africans, I think we're better without those two. Every time I hear the Americans might be sending Piet and Mel Viljoen home, and Mike Ballhays said, don't give them money. You'd have to be stupid to give them money. But I hear this, I'm like, please don't send them back. Please, I don't know, can't we like call the White House or something and just leave a message on the answering machine and just ask the President of America, like, please make an exception. Please, can you give them a green card or something? Please don't send them back to... We don't want them. We don't want them. You can make people persona non grata, can't you? You can do that with a citizen. You can say you're a persona non grata. Can't we do that with our constitution? I don't know, but couldn't we just make them persona non gratas so that they can never come back? Oh, man. Whistleblowers are a big threat to the thugs in South Africa. You do it at your own risk. Some people have liked this. Some people have loved it. I've made a person or two cry. Thank you for pressing the buttons. If you have, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, if you haven't, well, you're just an acquaintance and a regular viewer. We can't do much about that. That's in your hands. Lots of gamblers with jobs living from hand to mouth. Had a dream of the horse that won the Durban July some years ago. Cashed in nicely. Was an outsider never again. Yeah, I've seen that as well. I've seen people, it's called beginner's luck. You take someone to a casino for the first time and they put $100 on a number on the roulette wheel and bang, the next thing they got $3,200. Or someone has a dream, like, Royal Oak will win in the third at Newmarket on Saturday. Oh, I had a dream about an oak tree. Oh, look, there's a horse called Royal Oak. Let me put $100 on it. And then you cash in. But you can't do that every day, I promise you. Got to make a work call. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Okay, bye-bye, Una. Why are you upsetting Tom with his favorite corner? I love that corner. I'm a Springs boy, so the more like Springs it looks, the more comfortable I am. And Devon Valley Shopping Centre's got a Springs thing. And I'm going to buy it one day. And kick out the ball breakers. Pitt needs to face the music after that TikTok video. Yeah, but what? No. Can't they just stay in a jail in America? And when they leave, like, send them to, where's a cuck place in America? Send them to one of those hollers in the South. Give them a caravan. I would actually put a campaign together to buy Mel and Piet a caravan that they can park in the South there in one of those hollers where everyone's mau and pow. So send them there. Not Palm Beach and these places they've been pretending to live it up. Send them to a holler, buy them a caravan, and tell them they're not allowed to leave like Okefenokee, Tennessee or something. And ban them from anywhere else. They should be banished. They should be banished. America has enough people in prison. They are missing Pap and Vor, says Karen. Drum roll for that, please, Daryl. Piet and Mel Viljoen, voetsak julle twee, ek bly, en bly waar julle is. Yeah, I agree. I don't want them back here. We just keep them in America. Send them to a crappy part of America and then make them live there in a caravan. And then put a live camera on it so the rest of us can watch. Yeah, that would be the appropriate punishment. Luckily, I'm not a judge. I would make people do terrible things. And most of the stuff I'd make people do would be to humiliate them in front of other people so they never do it again. But I don't know if that's part of restorative justice. That's just my wicked personality. Like if you stole something from a shop, then I would make you wear a sign that says I'm a thief and I stole carbonated water from the shop, and make you stand there for 2 weeks for 8 hours a day at the entrance. That would be my punishment. But then, not everyone's like me. Send Pearson Mel to Redneck. See, that's it. I agree. Off to a holler. So go live next to Mom, Pow. No carbonated water there. Grits, baby, grits. That's all you're getting, grits. Sure. Okay, well, I've talked the hind leg off a donkey, and we've examined the news in South Africa and got no closer to a better society or country. But then I didn't promise you a better future when we started the show today. You'll have to tune in on Thursday for a Better Life and a Better Future show. I shall see you at 3 p.m. on Thursday on this channel because I'll be here. And if you're free, I hope you will be too. I hope you have a lovely Tuesday afternoon. Be kind to the people around you. And if you are going to be on the roads, remember, if someone bumps your bumper, don't run out and shoot them. Just hold on to the steering wheel and go 1, 2, and count to 10. And then try and bring or in the case of one of our viewers' husbands, break the steering wheel and grind your teeth down to half. That should do the trick. No more advice from me. Flate, my story's 8. This show was brought to you by Suzuki Kyalami, the home of happy customers.
Thank you very much.